I need to change my life. I need to do something because if I stay here and I end up as a director, I'm going to be 45 years old. I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be bald, fat, and like I don't want that. And I Googled how much does a director make? 100K. What's that after tax? 5 grand. We make 10 grand a month now from rent to rent. I didn't know it at the time, but I was thinking, I can't live like this because if I wait till 45, my parents might not even be alive. My dad's 64.
So most of you guys know Nayim and Kenny, but for the ones who don't know, so Nayim and Kenny, just feel free, introduce yourself, tell a bit about you guys and how you got into property in the first place.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to touch on one thing because last webinar was actually really interesting when someone mentioned that book from Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Mm-hmm. And I found it really interesting because especially when we were starting out, our biggest questions were around how do you do rent to rent? How do you find deals? But especially as we've evolved over time and find the things that have pretty much stayed consistent through our whole journey has really been our why. And a lot of the time, if you have a strong enough why, you can always figure out the how. So we were thinking about in terms of structuring the Q&A, we can give a bit more context into why we did what we did and kind of the circumstances in which we kind of grew up and what led us to here. And then equally, we can cover like the how as in how we obtained the success as well. But the why I found like really did keep us grounded in our journey. I think Kenny would agree as well.
We can do like, can you name what we can do? We can literally like go through your journey because people are asking both.
Yeah, Martha said both.
Because we've had so many like beautiful interviews. You guys are one of them. Melissa was one of them who did the huge personal transformation. Same with Craig. There's so many people who are kind of, because in the end of the day, it's changing yourself from within, and that is where the results starts to happen. So neither of them is separate. Both go hand in hand.
Exactly. So. Yeah. No, I agree. Right, so I'll start, and then I'll let Kenny roll off that, and then we'll kind of interject because we had our own little separate stories before we kind of met together.
Did you graduate? You graduate because you're an accountant by trade, no? Because
So what happened is I used the system that I had at my disposal and I put my head down. I said, no one's going to help me. I'm going to help myself. I'm going to get myself into a good university and I'm going to study and I'm going to make sure that my parents are looked after. So I did that. And then what happened is so I went to university, I studied my master's, I did my degree in engineering, and then I got the KPMG job. And I thought, that's it. I made it. That's it. I looked at everyone else and they're like, Nayim, you've made it. You came from all of the situation and you got it out. And I had a smile on my face. I was like, this is it. And you know what happened after that? The paycheck came. And I looked at it and I was like, huh? I looked at the paycheck. I was like, it was 2 grand. It came into I was earning 33 grand when I joined KPMG. And the average wage in the UK is 24 grand. When that 33 grand, when I got that job, I was like, I've made it. Like, I'm going to earn 100K. I'm going to be successful.
Because it's one of the biggest companies in...
It's a public listed company, isn't it?
Yeah. So then when that came, bear in mind, the day I got my job, I was the breadwinner at home. So that 2K came, 1 grand went to my parents. So I was left with maybe £700-800 was left. So I was almost, I had nothing to show for it. And I'm thinking, wait, I can't look after my family with this. If I wait, and at that point, I was even more confused. I was like, I did what everyone told me to do. I got the job. I did the degree. This job was so hard to get. And now I'm looking and I can't even feed my family. And I'm thinking, this is even worse than before, because before I thought at least there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I can get the degree. I can get myself out of that situation. But now I'm thinking I'm even more screwed. So I'm working at KPMG. And because I'm a consultant, they're sending me to all sorts of places. And one day I got sent to Preston. And you guys probably know Preston because you're property people. You probably look for properties in Preston. And I got sent there on a project. And I was there for 2 weeks. And at this point, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I'd say I was in a very bad point. And I was sitting there and I'm thinking, I need to change my life. I need to do something, because if I stay here and I end up as a director, I'm going to be 45 years old. I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be bald, fat. And I don't want that. And I Googled how much does a director make? 100K. What's that after tax? 5 grand. We make 10 grand a month now from rent to rent. I didn't know it at the time, but I was thinking, I can't live like this, because if I wait till 45, my parents might not even be alive. My dad's 64. I can't wait that long.
What was the transition for property, my friend? So what was the transition? You are now.
So at that point, I had one book with me I don't know why I had it, but I had one book with me. It was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, cliche book, but I had it with me. I was like, fine, I'll read it. I read it, and I don't know, maybe everything up until that point, or maybe the way my head was at that point. That book, it blew my mind at that point. I was like, I need to start this. I don't know what I need to do, but I need to start a business. So whatever it is, I need to start a business. At that point, I tried to start a coding company with my friend. We did that for 3-4 months. That failed, didn't work out. Then I bought courses, couldn't get anywhere. Tried to do rent to rent, couldn't get anywhere. Tried to do development. We did that for a good year. We still wasn't making any progress. And then
this I remember, Nayim. I remember you were doing, when you met Volta, I remember so clearly, because I remember you were doing development and you were doing land development.
Yeah.
And I remember so clearly the call you had with Volta, and Volta said, like, I met these two guys, Nayim and Kenny. Nayim has got he's doing a big corporate thing. They're doing land development, but they have a cash flow problem.
Yeah.
Cash flow problem right now. And then you guys were like, what do you mean a cash flow problem?
We didn't even know. We didn't know. I started a business, didn't work. I paid for courses, it didn't work. But I would have given up if I didn't have a reason to do this. I would have given up a long time ago. I would have stopped. At one point, me and Kenny, we both had full-time jobs. I was working KPMG. So Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, I worked KPMG. Then in the evenings, we worked on our business, our development company. And every evening and every day, we worked on the business and we had a day job. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but when you have a reason to do something, you'll find a way. I swear to God, you'll find a way.
Were you guys successful in land, or when,
we were making progress, but it really...
Let me take this one, Nayim. I'll take this. Yeah. So I think with the land thing, what it was is, I think we naively jumped into it thinking it was going to happen overnight. I think anyone who's in development understands there's loads of moving parts. There's so many unpredictable things that can happen. And we just saw the big shiny penny. We thought, let's think big, let's go development straight away. But what we didn't realize is that, okay, development is all nice and that, but what about the day-to-day living? What about cost of living? What about our...
That's why I told it. That's why I asked you guys.
That's what he said to you. Cash flow business, guys.
And then we
were working like donkeys at one point, and that's when we met Wouter, and we were telling him, like, we're working 4 jobs at the moment. And he's like, guys, what you're doing doesn't make sense. You're working a job and you have a capital business, not something that's going to replace your income. And we were like, duh, that makes sense.
Exactly. And the funny thing about it is that when we spoke to Volta, he identified that pretty quickly, and it seemed like common sense. But when you're in, you get
we were so deep into it. We had the blinders on. We were just like, go, go, go. Yeah, and then Wouter, obviously, he's looking at things from like an aerial view. He's seeing everything like almost like his chess. And he goes, guys, can you not just see there's a checkmate? Like, it's there. And we're too busy looking in this region of the chessboard. So we were just like, it's obvious. Like, of course, we got a cash flow business problem.
And just to add on that, I think the best thing about that is not only did it allow us to address our cash flow issue, it also stopped us putting the pressure on the development side of things. So that the development started to transpire naturally. And now we're starting to see some results. We've got a few options now in place. And that's because we've been able to alleviate that with the rent-to-rent, focus on rent-to-rent, address our cash flow issue, and then just naturally allow the developments to progress. So it's become full circle, and it just goes to show, like, there's a path and a certain footprint for anything in life. And if you just follow that, then things tend to fall in place.
Yeah, very important. And that's why I say to everyone, very important, there's a formula. So first, the cash flow business, you need to have, you guys are making 10 grand, this is just the beginning, 10 grand, okay? You systematize the business, that is the cash flow. Then now what are we going to do? How are we going to create wealth? I know a lot of people just teach about replacing income, and we are quite successful in doing this. You guys are seeing you guys growing is being a pleasure, because it's a formula in the end of the day. So you replace your income, then you have, let's say, 5 years to create wealth, and then you retire, whatever it is. I know people, you guys now going to the next level, which is, creating wealth. But it's a formula. And sometimes when we don't follow the formula, that's the problem.
Yeah. You don't understand. You don't get taught, like Walter said, replacing the income is the first stage. And then there's so many stages after. Tell me something, Nayim and Kenny. So all of that, what changed? What was the shift for you guys?
I think for me, it's just a clear direction. I think me and Nayim, we've never struggled to take action, but what we have struggled with is just being clear on what the end goal is and how to get to the end goal. So what we found ourselves doing is scrapping, trying this, trying that, But once we got a direct focus, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the market we're going to serve. These are the sort of rents we want to get. This is the cash flow we want. Once we knew that, it was just about execution. So for me, it's just about having a clear plan, understanding what our end goal was, and then taking action.
Like, and other people always see the success, but we spent so much. Kenny, we used to laugh about, like, Kenny, are we ever going to make the money back we spent on training? We used to laugh. This is before we joined Valsa. We're like, we're those guys that we say we do property, but we don't make any money. And then only after we joined Valsa, but like I said, we knew that if we didn't do this, there was nothing else that we had to do. So I say why is really important, and don't put other people on a pedestal. Like, this is all attainable. Like, we hope to stand shoulder to shoulder with Valsa one day. Like, well, obviously he's a mentor, but one day we'd like to be in the same bracket. So I don't put anyone on a pedestal, and just know why you're doing this. And like you said, surround yourself with good people. You'll figure out the how. So I just really just wanted to touch on that point.
My friend, I'll be honest with you guys. For me, it's like, I know how to fish. My job is to teach you guys how to fish.
Yeah.
You know, let's see how far you guys wants to go. You know, the ultimate investor, that's what we say. Like, you know, in the end of the day, just numbers. For me, we're going to close our iconic building in London to celebrate the success and the deal generator. I'm paying all of that. Yeah. So, you know, for Christmas.
Come over.
I was going to say,
Kenny and I are going to run up the bill, man. We're going to run up the bill.
So, but for me, it's just because the success, guys, when I went, the thing is, I started this course because I was feeling the same, you know, I want to do something unique, different, you know, and for me, you have so many people replacing the income. Just
to touch on that, Bolter, just a word of advice for everyone. I think one of the things that me and Nayim did well is that we literally just listened to what Bolter said. We didn't recreate what he said. Literally what he said to go and do is exactly what we went to go and do. And I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the moment and try to, you know, reinvent the wheel or try to do something a bit different. Like, these people have been there and they've done it. So literally just do what you need to do and you'll get the same results.
Valter used to tell me on the phone, he's like, the only difference between rich people and those that aren't as successful is they just know a bit more stuff than you. That's it. They just know more stuff.
That's it.
100%. And I think, again, just to sort of bring this full circle in terms of our why, I think from where me and Nayim come from, what we were exposed to in terms of success, whatever you want to call that, was either you're going to be a professional footballer or you're going to have a big corporate job. Those are only options you were given growing up from where we came from. And this is my point. There wasn't anyone who was doing business. There wasn't anyone who was really successful at business. So me and Nayim said to ourselves, you know, we want to be those sort of people that can show the younger generation from where we're coming from that this is an avenue that you can explore as well, that this is actually a realistic
have to do these other things,
Because sure, people are doing business, but we're talking about on a sustainable, you know, recurring scale. I'm not talking about a, you know, little side hustle. I'm talking about something that is actual, you know, tangible and lasts and produces, like I said, recurring income. And me and Nayim really wanted to do that. So again, it goes way beyond the money. It's about, you know, what are we showing other people? But yeah, I mean, we're ready for questions.
Yeah, we've got pictures ready of what, if you want me to screen share, I can show you some of the units, how we progressed in terms of interior decorating, and we can run through cash flow, how much profit we're making. So this was our first unit that we did. This was in Wembley Park. So originally, in terms of interior design, first time what we did, we actually got like Fusion on board, the Fusion furniture. And after we saw them do it the first time, we thought, oh, we can do this. Like, this isn't that hard. And then, but we were just like, look, anything that we can bring in house, we can do it at way more cost effectively. Go for some more pictures. So that's like one of the units. Here's the other room. These rooms go. This was our first unit that we did. I think this room went for about 730. This double room here, and I think the other rooms were about this went for 685. So this was like, you can see we were like quite early in our career when we did this. You'll see how things kind of change over a period of time. This was the next unit that we did, and we brought it in-house, so you can see how the design changes a little bit now, because we had the same budget, except we could do a lot more with it because we weren't having to pay like a third party. So this time we went for like a wallpaper, went for a similar kind of color scheme with different kind of lamp. And again, we were just looking at what other people were doing and then just kind of adding our own little spin on it. This was our studio. This goes for about £900. That's probably the most expensive room in the house, actually. This is just like an artsy picture. We just added that. Bathroom. We learned photography. we actually added this kitchen ourselves into this. Used to be a really big living room, and it was also joined with the kitchen. So we added a partition wall in between, and then we added this, and we made it into a bed set. So it's not an ensuite, but it's a room with a kitchen in it. And because we, like I said, we read everything about the licensing and we knew what we were and weren't allowed to do. So a room that would have typically gone for 650, I think this now goes for 850. So just by adding that partition wall and adding a kitchen, we got extra room and we got a kitchen in there, and we were able to add some value. And we don't really shy away from like doing work, like refurbishment works on our rent-to-rents, if the numbers make sense. So that's kind of this one. That was like one of the second units that we did. Should be here all day, but like this was like another unit that we did. This was a 7-bedroom. Again, now you see the designs change, right? Like every time we're just trying to make it slightly better and do it slightly cheaper as well. But again, like just it's small little things like numbering all the little units so that everyone's like, we learned that people get confused if they're left to their own devices to choose their own cupboard. So we got good at just like making these little small details on each of our properties, and it was an iterative process. Another thing we started doing as well is we realized we were wasting a lot of time doing viewings. So we started doing online mappings of all of our properties. So this is like our 6-bedroom. So this is, so we started sending this to people, and people were taking rooms without coming to see it. And we were like, this saves us so much time. And it was so like effective for us. Because with this, people can just like look at the property and decide from their own house if they want to like take it or not. And usually you end up doing a lot less viewings than you would typically do. And with the people that do come, pretty much reserve it on the day. So this really saves us a lot of time for anyone that's doing HMOs. I'd really recommend doing like a virtual tour of the property, because it just makes your life so much easier. Like this is like the yellow room. And then we went for like a yellow theme, grey wall. This property is all en suites, so it's like 6 rooms, 6 en suites. Now we've gone for a very simple design. We don't add as much as we used to do before, but it's kind of something that it's a bit timeless. So even if the property was to date, it would be quite easy just to spruce it up, and it wouldn't require a lot of cost or time really to change the design or refresh it. And this is just the quick communal area that we had for the property. So that's the living room. There's a little TV here, a little kind of setup for people just to hang out and stuff. And yeah, that's kind of just the units. If you guys want any inspiration, we're not great interior decorators. We just kind of looked at what the good people are doing, and we just tried to imitate the best that we could. And also we kept in mind that we do have a limited budget. We're rent-to-renters. We don't own the house. So we just try to do everything. We could do it way nicer, but at the end of the day, we don't own the property. We will have to give it back at some date. But we're happy to invest money into it as long as the numbers make sense. And like I said, you really got to have it down to a spreadsheet. But when landlords see stuff like this, I'll be honest, this one came from a landlord's friend. He was so happy with what we did with the first property. He recommended a friend, and this guy gave us this property.
Yeah, and we've got this for quite some time, haven't we, Nayim?
Yeah, we got this one like more than 5 years, I think, at this point. The landlord's really happy. He said he wanted a certain guaranteed rent, but we ended up being able to offer him a bit more because we knew we could get a very good uplift on this property, and the bones of this property was also quite good. Sometimes if you just do a good job for the sake of doing a good job, somehow it works out in ways that you don't really expect sometimes, I guess. Other than that, so this is the most recent one. So, this is the room that went for the most. This one went for about £1,000. This room here is huge, though, massive.
How much money you guys are making at the moment?
10.3 grand as of next month.
Wow. You know, guys, come on.
Well done, guys. Come on.
I appreciate
guys, that pays the bills. Come on.
That pays the bills. Mom and dad are happy now.
Yes.
The things has to be covered. The paying the bills. Okay. So now we can go talk business. You know, I said to people, without you replacing income, I can't talk business with you guys. You remember when we used to talk, you have calls them like, guys, look, let's replace the income first, then let's talk business. Yeah. So now is where we can start talking, going to the next level. And I'm excited for you guys, and let's go to the next level, because my friend, I will tell you something. There is a next level.
See why Walter does this as well, because ultimately he's doing the same thing with a lot of people, because we didn't know a lot of things before we didn't meet Valter, and he opened our eyes to a lot of things. But had people like Valter not existed, then he wouldn't have touched so many people. And we want to go back to the communities that mean a lot to us, like the communities that we grew up in, and kind of shed this light, because we feel like it's a very much a disenfranchised group of people. And it's unfair because it's just a lack of opportunity and information.
100%.